I hadn't been back to Pine Hollow in 23 years. The town looked the same, quiet, foggy, forgotten by time, but something felt wrong the moment I stepped out of the bus. People stared at me like they recognized me, but couldn't remember from where. When I checked into the old motel, the clerk froze when I said my name. "You shouldn't have come back," she whispered. That night, I heard something scratching out my window. When I looked outside, the trees at the edge of the forest were swaying, but there was no wind. Locals refused to go near the forest. They crossed the street to avoid it. They locked their doors at sunset. I walked to the forest line anyway. The moment I stepped close, the air changed, colder, heavier, like the forest was breathing. A voice whispered my name from between the trees. Not a stranger's voice, my brother's. But he disappeared 23 years ago, and he would have been 40 now. The voice calling me sounded like he did at 17. I stepped 1 foot into the forest, just one, and something shifted inside my head like a page being torn from a book. When I walked back to town, the clerk asked how my mother was doing. I froze. I couldn't remember her face. Not her voice. Not her smile. Nothing. The forest had taken something from me, and it wanted more. I went to the sheriff's office. The walls were covered in missing posters, dozens of them. Children, adults, elderly. All vanished near the forest. But one poster made my blood run cold. My brother's. Except the date on the poster wasn't from 23 years ago. It was from last month. Someone had replaced the old poster with a new one. Someone wanted me to think he was still alive. Or the forest wanted me to believe it. I stayed in the motel trying to sleep. At 2:14 a.m., the ground trembled. I looked outside. The trees at the forest edge were moving, not swaying, but walking. Roots dragging across the dirt like legs, branches reaching towards the motel. One tree stopped directly in front of my window. Its bark split open like a mouth, and my brother's voice whispered from inside it. "Come back. You left me here." The next morning, a path had appeared in the forest, a narrow trail of black soil leading deep inside. I followed it. The deeper I went, the more memories slipped away. My childhood home. My first day of school. My best friend's name. Gone. But the forest gave me new memories, memories that weren't mine. Memories of people screaming, running, begging the forest to let them go. And one memory of my brother, standing in the forest, smiling, whispering, "You're almost home." At the center of the forest was a clearing filled with fog. In the middle stood a massive tree, ancient, twisted, pulsing like a heartbeat. Faces were carved into its bark. Hundreds of them, some crying, some screaming, some whispering. One of them was my brother. His eyes moved, his mouth opened. "You shouldn't have left me," he whispered. "You shouldn't have survived." The forest showed me a memory I had buried. The night my brother disappeared, I ran. I left him behind. I didn't try to save him. I didn't tell anyone the truth. The forest didn't take him. I abandoned him. And the forest kept him. Fed on him, learned him. Now it wanted me too. The ancient tree spoke in my brother's voice. "You can leave," it whispered, "if you give us the rest of your memories." I felt them slipping already. My name, my age, my life outside Pine Hollow. But then the forest offered something else. "You can stay," it said, "and become part of us." Roots wrapped around my legs, branches brushed my face. The forest didn't want to kill me. It wanted to keep me, forever. As the forest pulled me into the soil, one memory surfaced, the only one it hadn't taken. My brother's real voice, not the forest's imitation. The last thing he ever said to me, "Run." I tore myself free, sprinting through the trees as they screamed and twisted behind me. The forest tried to erase the path, but I kept running until I burst into the open field. When I looked back, the forest had gone still. Silent, waiting. I escaped, but I know it remembers me. And one day, it will come for the rest of my memories. I thought escaping the forest meant I was safe. I was wrong. For the first time in days, I woke up in my motel room with sunlight leaking through the blinds. My clothes were still covered in dirt, my shoes soaked with mud, and my hands trembling from the memory of running through the trees. But I was alive. I stood up slowly, expecting dizziness, confusion, or another missing memory. But something was different. My memories were sharp, too sharp. I remembered the forest, the ancient tree, the faces in the bark dot my brother's voice, the roots pulling at my legs, the forest trying to swallow me whole. I remembered everything, and that terrified me more than forgetting ever did. I walked to the bathroom sink and splashed water on my face. When I looked up, I froze. My reflection blinked a second too late. I stepped back. No, not again. I leaned closer. My reflection leaned too, but slower, as if it were thinking about it first. Then it whispered, "You didn't escape." I stumbled backward, knocking over a glass. It shattered on the floor, but the sound felt distant, muffled, like I was underwater. The reflection continued, "You brought it with you." I ran to the window and pulled the blinds open, and my heart stopped. The forest was closer. It had moved. Yesterday, it was a mile away at the edge of town. Today, it was across the street. The first row of trees stood at the edge of the motel parking lot, their branches pressed against the asphalt like fingers reaching for warmth. I whispered, "No, this isn't real." But the trees swayed not with the wind. With breath, the motel clerk burst into my room without knocking. Her face was pale, her eyes wide with terror. "You need to leave," she said. "Nell?" I pointed at the window. "The forest. It's here for you," she said. "It's been waiting." I shook my head. I escaped. I ran. I got out. She grabbed my arm with surprising strength. "You don't escape something that eats memories. You carry it, you feed it, and now it wants the rest." The ground trembled. A deep, slow vibration, like something massive shifting beneath the earth. The clerk whispered, "It's waking up." I looked outside again. The trees were closer, much closer. Their roots crawled across the parking lot like veins. Their branches scraped the motel walls. Their trunks twisted, bending toward my window. And then I saw it. A face in the bark. My brother's face. But older now. Rotting. Twisted. Hungry. His mouth opened. And his voice, the forest voice, whispered, "You left me once. You won't leave again." The motel clerk pulled me toward the door. "We have to go." But when I stepped into the hallway, the lights flickered, the walls pulsed, and the shadows on the floor stretched toward me like hands. The forest wasn't outside anymore. It was inside, growing through the walls, crawling under the floorboards, breathing in the air around me. I ran down the hallway, but every door I passed slammed shut on its own. The exit sign flickered violently, then went dark. The clerk screamed behind me. I turned. Roots burst through the floor, wrapping around her legs, pulling her down. She clawed at the carpet, her fingers leaving bloody streaks. "Run!" she screamed. "Don't let it take you too." But I couldn't move. The forest whispered inside my head. "You belong to us." The motel walls cracked. Branches pushed through the ceiling. The floor buckled beneath my feet. I ran toward the exit, but the door dissolved into bark, a tree growing where the doorway had been. I was trapped. The forest had followed me, and it wanted everything I had left.